What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Hangout spot where you already know it's real talk, boxing talk, live from my man cave. It's your boy Johnny, and I am your host for another edition of the Hangout Spot Live. This time, the Tuesday night edition. And if you rocked out with us, we actually did an extra show last night at 8 o'clock. We had to do it, man. We had an excellent fight card over the weekend. Turkey Al Sheikh put one of the best cards that we've seen, top to bottom, on paper, and it actually delivers. So yesterday I had my man Ryan Frazier from Boxing Talk up north. We kicked it. We went over all the fights. We gave our breakdown. So if you were watching us live yesterday and you were in the chat, I appreciate you. But if you have not seen it, make sure you check out the recording at the Hangout spot. It's on there right now. And tonight, we got another banger for you, man. We got a special guest for you. We have a young, bright, talented junior middleweight prospect by the name of Ebenezer Stuntman Griffith. He will be in the building. He turned pro last year. He's actually 4-0, undefeated, bright future. He's from Louisville, Kentucky, which is Muhammad Ali, the GOAT's birthplace. And he was on the Boxing Voice, I believe it was about a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago. And I was so impressed with his interview that I asked him to come on so that my audience could get to know him. And he was gracious enough to join us. So he's going to be on in just a couple of minutes. But you know the deal. Before we get him on, this ground rules here at the Hangout spot, man. If you are watching this live on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button, as it will help with the visibility of the channel. The goal is to get this channel out into the algorithm of boxing fans so that they know that we rock out every week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And like we did yesterday, sometimes we'll add a third show. So make sure you subscribe to the Hangout spot. You hit that notification button. And more importantly, you tell a friend to tell a friend. In 2024, we made our mark. 2025, we're looking to take this to the next level. But we're going to need more passengers on this train so we can turn it into a locomotive. And last but not least, you know the deal. The chat is open, free chat. And if you want to send a donation, the super chats are always open as well. And I accept them all, man. I accept them all. Homie. So without further ado, man, like I said, I want to bring my guest in. Bright, talented, smart. And he's got a really, really bright future ahead of him. He fights at junior middleweight. He's 4-0 with one knockout. He is coming off an impressive unanimous decision victory February 2nd. So without further ado, I want to bring my man in, Ebenezer Stuntman Griffith. What's going on, champ? Welcome to the Hangout spot, man.
Man, appreciate it, brother. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Like I said, you were on the Boxing Voice about a week and a half ago, and that interview went really, really well. I was impressed because the thing that I like about young fighters today is not just what they bring to the ring, inside the ring, it's what they bring outside of the ring. Right. And you know, the way you spoke, the way you carried yourself, the way you spoke about your future, you know, and how you see yourself chasing greatness. I was really, really impressed with that. So I thought it was really important for my viewers to get to know you, bring you on, and we'll do it up, man. This is how we do it up at the Hangout spot, bro.
Absolutely, man. I'm here for it. Let's go, brother.
All right. So we got my man Eric Harris, who's checking in. What's going on in the truck, delivering to the Bronx tonight. I appreciate you rocking out, Eric. So I got people that'll listen to me, they'll watch live, or they'll actually listen to me while they're driving trucks. So obviously Eric is here on the check-in, and we got Ebenezer Stuntman Griffith, undefeated, 154-pound prospect with an extremely bright future. Congratulations on your win on February. Thank you. Unanimous decision victory. Another one bites the dust. But now that you're 4 fights in, and I do want to talk about your pro career up to date, and I want to talk about your future. But real quick, one question I want to ask, and this is what I like to ask all young fighters. Now that you're pro, you're 4 fights in, right? So you're starting to obviously you're a full-fledged pro now, right? Because you turned pro last year, I believe it was in April.
Yeah.
How do you feel? What's the difference between? What can you say is the difference 4 fights in from being an amateur to being a pro? Like one of the biggest adjustments, the biggest differences that you've had to deal with so far?
Man, that's a loaded question, brother. It's honestly night and day. I would say the difference between the amateurs and the professional ranks. Obviously, I had a very high amateur pedigree. I fought in the Olympic trials. I was a national champion, ranked #1 in the country. And I had a lot of amateur fights. And so I feel that I've always had a more prototypical style. And I feel that my game will always translate to the pros, but you never know until you actually step foot in the pros. And I would say just like the biggest difference for me um, is that one, this is it. This is it's for real now, you know.
Well, competition, obviously, competition is going to be different.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You know, that's another thing that people don't talk about as much. When you're in the amateur ranks, you're used to fighting other people that are, you know, on your level and that are, you know, that are other top prospects. And then when you have your first few professional fights, it isn't necessarily the same. But I think that's super important for the development of a fighter. You know, losing the headgear, having no shirt, using smaller gloves, and there's something else that people don't talk about as much during the transition from the amateurs to the pros. Is the gloves are so much harder. Um, if you put on a pair of like 8 ounce or 10 ounce pro gloves compared to a pair of 10 ounce amateur gloves, it's significantly harder. There's less padding on the knuckles, and that's something that I definitely noticed whenever I'm like hitting guys in there. I'm like, wow, okay, I can definitely like feel my knuckles through these sometimes. You know, one because they're smaller gloves too.
Wow, that's a good point. This is why I like to ask that question, right? Because some people talk about workout regimen is different, the diet is different now.
Right.
The sparring obviously is more intense, but that's a good call out. And that's always a question I like to ask young fighters because
Right.
it is, like you said, a huge transition. Just the little things, right? Like the no
Yeah.
shirt.
Yeah.
People don't think that that's really a big deal, but it's a
Yeah.
big deal
Yeah.
to you guys, right?
Yeah. A lot of times, like when you're sliding against the ropes, you could feel it like burning, like against your back. Let's say like you're against the ropes. That leather, man, sometimes it'll rub your back and get you kind of like a carpet burn. That I've never had that happen in the amateurs. My very
Facts.
first professional fight, I had that happen. I was like, "Hey, yo,
Facts, facts. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Like I said, I do want to kind of get into where you're at so far and your future outlook. But another thing that I like to ask young fighters is let's take it back a little bit, right? Let's go back a little bit. Let's give my audience a perspective of where it all started, right? The journey started. So when did you start boxing and what inspired you to become a boxer?
man." So I started boxing at 12 years old in Louisville, Kentucky. There's this gym called Louisville Legends. It's kind of like it's one of the oldest gyms in the country, actually. And man, my dad brought me to the gym. My older brother had been boxing there for a while, and my dad brings me to the gym. And I remember as soon as I walked in the gym, it was kind of crazy. And I want you guys to, I'm not making this up. This is something like you can't make up. I walk in the gym, and inside of the ring are these two kids, like my age, in the ring sparring. And my whole life, I'd always been taught that, like, you know, you keep your hands to yourself. You don't put your hands on on anyone else, unless you're prepared for the repercussions. And so when I get into the gym, my dad opens up the door. I walk in, and the head trainer, his name is James Doolan. He's talking to my dad. He's like, "Yeah, how old is he? You know, what do you guys want from this stuff like that?" And the whole time, like I'm tuning him out, and I'm just mesmerized by these two kids in the ring, and I was looking at them, and like they weren't just in there swinging and like going wild. They were actually methodical, and I
They
really
were
could see
boxing,
that.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I could see that they were thinking, you know, and it wasn't just some like rock'em sock'em tough man kind of thing. It was definitely more of like a measured battle, and I loved it, man. And my dad didn't even have to turn around and ask me if I wanted to box, man. He already knew the answer, and yeah, from there it's just there's very few things that I can say that I've fallen in love with just immediately, but boxing is that thing. Um, Growing up, my mother she didn't like boxing. She saw me fight one time in my entire career. I'm 22 years old now. I started boxing at 12 years old. I've been in the sport for a decade. My mother had I've had so many amateur fights, and you know now that I'm in the pros, my mother's only watched me fight once. It was my very first fight. She said never again. Yeah, so
Oh, sure.
yeah, she doesn't like the fighting, and I understand she doesn't want to see her, her baby get punched. Um, but I remember being a kid and I wasn't allowed to watch like professional fights. They used to be on Spike back in the day, PBC on Spike and HBO.
HBO.
Um, and so I used to sneak downstairs to the living room, and it'd be like 10 o'clock at night. I cut the TV on, and I cut the volume all the way down to just watch the fights. Try not to get caught by my mom, man. But it's just from just a super young age. I've always had a finite just passion for the sport, and I really do mean for the sport, not just for like the business or the money side of it, but I really do love the sport of boxing, man. I think it's the most beautiful, most truthful sport in the world.
Beautifully said, because I agree, man. And shout out, man. I love that breakdown, man, because you could tell, I mean, you genuinely love the sport, and
Yeah,
it's authentic, right? It doesn't seem like you bullshitting, you know what I mean? You keeping it real. And the thing about moms, you'd be surprised. I mean, there's a lot of fighters that I've interviewed that tell me the same thing, man. Like, yo,
right.
mom didn't want me
Yeah,
to fight, man. Hell no. Or he just came to my fight recently,
yeah,
and I've been fighting for so long. So
yeah,
that's usually normal. Again, it's hard. It's hard to see your son going there,
yeah.
and fight another person. I mean, this is why I give fighters a lot of credit, boxers a lot of credit. It takes a lot of guts, balls for somebody to lace up a pair of gloves, go in there and risk their lives,
Right.
for our
Yeah.
entertainment. So, salute to you. But that's a
Thank you.
definitely a great story. So, tell me a little bit about the whole Olympic trials. I know you had extensive amateur background, Olympic trials, man. How was that experience?
Man, it was a great experience. It's something I had always looked forward to. Um, I actually have a picture in the locker room before my first ever amateur fight. It's up on my Instagram. Um, I took it before my first ever amateur fight at 12 years old, and I captioned it "Future of USA Boxing." At 12 years old, right before my first ever amateur fight, I,
Nice.
I, I captioned it "Future of USA Boxing." And throughout my amateur career, man, I really did feel that I was the future of USA boxing. It was a long, long journey, and there's so many different obstacles that people don't know about, and that people will never know about.
Mhm.
Um, from just like having to pay your way to go to these national tournaments. They
People
just
don't know that.
yeah,
People don't know that.
until you're that number one guy in the country, you have to pay your way to go to these tournaments. You have to pay for your hotel, your travel, food, all this stuff while you're there. If you have family taking you, man, they're missing work. Um, it's a lot, and it's a sacrifice on everyone's end, not just the fighter. And I think that as fighters, we're doing a better job now of like showing people, all the different things that we go through to get to fight night. But I definitely want to give a shout out to everyone that helped me along the way, because I understand that I didn't do it by myself. And it really, really is a team effort. Just like all the sacrificing, man, from not just my coach, but from, sponsors and family and friends, everyone who just showed support both financially, mentally, just all these things that people don't see in the behind the scenes.
Respect. And I will second that shout out for you, brother. I love the breakdown and I love that perspective because a lot of people don't know the sacrifices, I mean, it's hard. It's not just training,
Right,
amateur fighting, it's all that other stuff, right? The financial strain, it's a
right,
lot, and it takes a lot of mental fortitude and drive and determination to continue down that path. There are a lot of
right,
fighters that end up just calling it like, this is too much.
right,
I can't handle it. I can't afford it. But the fact that obviously you put your head down and you continue to work, and now here you are, man. That's a shout out to you, man.
right.
I love it. I love the breakdown. I love the breakdown. I am here with junior middleweight prospect Ebenezer Stuntman Griffin, who is 4-0 to start his career. And we got a couple of chat members. Promoter, I guess Eric Harris wants to know what promoter. You kind of getting ahead of me, Eric. We're going to talk about that later on. But Eric wants to know what who you working with. Are you working with any particular promoter right now?
Yeah, so I was scheduled to fight on Top Rank in at the beginning of April. That just fell through, and but I'm a big believer in God, man, and I have a relationship with God, and I really do feel that like He's in rooms that we're not in, and He's hearing conversations that we're not hearing, you know, and at first I was super upset. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was looking forward to being able to showcase my abilities on ESPN on Top Rank. But
Sure.
I understand that he has something else for me, something else in store. And lo and behold, we got a call from the Roy Jones Jr. promotion, and
Nice.
yep. So
Okay.
we're gonna be fighting on Roy Jones Jr.'s card, April 19th in my hometown, Louisville, Kentucky. Man,
Ah,
co
I was just
yeah,
gonna ask
as
you
the
if it was
co-main event. So
yo.
yeah,
Shout out to you. I'm sorry. I interrupted you by accident, but
nice fun.
I thought when you said Roy Jones, because he does a lot of cards here in Florida. I live in Florida,
Right.
so I thought
He's from
maybe you were coming
Pensacola,
to
right?
Florida. Yeah, I thought maybe you were coming to Florida. I was like, but you coming to Florida? I'm gonna go hit you up
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure, man.
absolutely. No,
Hopefully
but
your
it's
next fight.
I'm super excited to be back in my hometown,
Absolutely.
fighting in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm from the home of Muhammad Ali, the greatest, and
Yep.
man, I'm so excited to be fighting in my hometown on Roy Jones Jr.'s card. Like he was one of my idols growing up, and so to have this opportunity in front of me, man, to be the co-main event, I'm super excited, and man, I'm ready to put on a show and just to show everyone exactly what skills I have, and exactly what's coming up.
I'm excited for you, man. I can't wait to see you back in action, man. For real. Zorro de la Vega is in the building. Salute, champ. Thank you for rocking out with
So
us.
de la Vega.
This is Alex Vega is one of my the Boxing Voice family members, who's great at breaking down fights. So I'm glad that you're here. This is a great interview so far, and we're just getting started. So make sure you guys buckle up. We got Superwoman 607. Always happy to be here. Thank you for rocking out with us, sis. We appreciate you. Eric Harris said you said Spike back in the day.
Man, people don't know, man.
People
PBC
don't
Spike.
know.
Yeah,
People don't know
I
Spike, and
remember
then
watching Thurman versus Guerrero. Back then, that was a Spike. Yeah, that was a Spike.
was it those?
Um,
I don't remember. I
yeah,
do know.
yeah.
Yeah, when PBC came out,
They weren't on Spike long, but
it might have
it
been
was like
a fight.
it was
I'm
like
not.
8 9 months. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. That's right, man. He manifested it since he was young, man, and he's here, man. And the future is extremely bright. Bucky Rogers, thank you for rocking out with us, man. Like I said, I am here with Ebenezer Stuntman Griffith, undefeated prospect. Let's get to the nickname Stuntman because I think this is a really good story. I want you to share with my
yeah.
viewers. Where did you come up with the nickname Stuntman?
Man, I didn't come up with it. I got it from Andre Ward.
Andre
Um,
Ward, the
yeah,
great Andre Ward, and I think I
yeah,
know why. But go ahead, take it away, champ.
yeah. So, man, Andre Ward's one of my. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, right? Muhammad Ali, um, was an idol coming up, but Andre Ward is my favorite fighter of all time. I just love like the fighter he was inside of the ring, as well as like the man he was outside of the ring. He was a Christian. He he was a man of principle.
Man of
He was a
God, yep.
family man. Um, and like I think that speaks volumes about just like who he was. When you see like the support that his wife had for him and his kids have for him. And then also he was an incredible fighter inside of the ring. He didn't lose a fight since he was 12 years old. And I always loved that about him. But I'm down in Florida. This is 20. What year is this? 2016, 2017. Excuse me. And I'm down in Florida at I don't remember which tournament it was. But I'm down there, and I don't even know if it was for a tournament. But I'm getting some sparring in the ring, and beforehand, Andre Ward, he's there. He's talking to a lot of the kids and stuff like that. And man, I come up to Ward and I start talking crazy. I start talking like out of the side of my neck. I'm telling him like, man, I'll knock you out right now. You know, I'm this
You're
little
telling him
13.
that? You're telling him
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. I'm this little 14-year-old kid. You know, telling him like, man, I'll knock you out. Like, you know, I didn't know how to, how to approach him with respect. He was my idol, and I was like, man, like, I want to be like him. You know,
For
but
sure.
the way I expressed it was like, man, I'm gonna knock you out. So he's like, man, you talking crazy. Let me see something. So I get in the ring and I spar some kid. I don't know who it was. But I put the paws on him. And I get out of the ring, man. I'm talking crazy to Andre. I'm like, yeah, man, like, and right around this time is when the first Creed movie came out.
Hmm.
And in real life, Andre Ward's ring name was SOG, like Son of God Ward. And in the movie, his name was Danny Stuntman Wheeler. And I was like, bro, I was like, dog, I want that nickname, bro. I was like, can I have it? And he ended up giving me his blessing, and it's stuck ever since.
That's what's up. That's a great
Yeah,
story, man. That's a great
yeah,
story. Not everybody gets a chance to meet their idol at that young age, but the fact that you weren't starstruck, that you were talking that shit
yeah.
to him,
Oh
and
yeah,
and obviously he appreciated you and liked you enough to be like, you know what, it's yours, man. That's
yeah.
what's up, man. That's a
I
great
think
story. I
because
want to
I
know if you was
was
gonna.
starstruck, that like that's why I was talking
That's why.
trash. Yeah, yeah,
Nah, I get that. I get that. That's totally. But that's dope, man. That's dope
yeah,
that he's got
yeah.
a chance.
Absolutely.
Have you remained in contact with him? Like,
I haven't.
yeah. Well, it'll come.
Yeah,
It'll
I'm
come.
I'm gonna I'm gonna tell him this story too. I hope he remembers it, bro. That'll be so fun.
Nah, for sure. I'm sure he will, man. Good guy. He's got a great show too, man. That he does and he interviews fighters, man. I watch him all the time. As a podcaster, that's what I like to do. I like to watch other podcasters to see
Right,
what little bit,
absolutely.
to see what I can take, out of them and what makes them interesting and what makes them tick. It's all about the viewers and it's all about the guests. And we're happy to have you here with us at the Hangout spot tonight. But let's keep it going, man. So I think as a fight fan, and I speak for all fight fans because I do this, I love this, but I'm a fan of the sport. I'm a fan of the fighters, but we often compare young fighters to champions, contenders. That's what we do, right? When we
Right,
see a young guy, we're like, man, I see Terrence Crawford in this guy. I see
right.
Floyd Mayweather. I see Sweet Pea Whitaker, whatever it may be. So stylistically, right? For fans who've never seen you fight, who could I say you resemble stylistically, in your opinion?
Stylistically, who do I resemble? I resemble Ebenezer Griffith.
Good
Um,
answer.
man, I really do mean that. That's not me being cocky or
But
just trying to avoid your question.
do you take anything from any of the former fighters that you like to watch? Maybe some fighters that inspired you. Maybe, I
Yeah,
took a little bit from this
absolutely.
guy. So who are some of
Um,
those fighters?
man, I've watched film on every fighter you can think of, but I wouldn't say I fight like one particular fighter because I've taken things from every single one of the legends, man. I've watched Roberto Duran. Man, I've watched Julio Cesar Chavez. I've watched like Sweet Pea Whitaker. My favorite fighters of all time, are Andre Ward and Terrence Crawford, Muhammad Ali. And like I've taken things from like each one of these guys. Um, if anyone has seen any of my fights, um, every fight I do, so I fight a different style, man. I always say that I am a chameleon. I really do have the ability to adapt to whatever I'm in the ring with. Like Floyd Mayweather used to always say, we bang the boxer and we box the banger. And just being able to be fluid and be like water. Bruce Lee used to always say, be like water. And I really do try to emulate that in the ring. That no matter what my opponent brings, I'm able to disarm it. And I'm able to methodically take them apart and do whatever it is that I need to do to come out on the other side to come out successful.
I love it, and that's a good attitude to have, obviously, especially as a young fighter. I have seen your fights, and you're
Right.
right. You show a little bit of everything. One thing that really stands out to me is your toughness. Like you like to get in there and you like to mix it up, but you have an
Yeah.
excellent jab. You have a
Yeah.
long, excellent jab, a snapping jab, so you can box. But I can tell, and correct me if I'm wrong. You're a fighter. Like you like to fight.
Yeah.
Like I think you
Absolutely.
would prefer to fight rather than take it easy and outbox somebody. I think that's just embedded in you. Am I right or am I wrong from what I've seen?
Whatever it takes to get the job done on that given night. But Shakur Stevenson said something. He said, I don't care what the fans think. Like I'm fighting for me. And like I get that, but at the same time, also, I know what it's like to I'm not one of these fighters that just box, man. Like I know what it's like to, go and work a construction job or go and work at a factory. Obviously, like I'm a full-time boxer now. But like in the amateurs, man, to pay to go to national tournaments and stuff like that, man, I know what it's like to go and work 45 hours a week in a distribution center, and then still have to go and train twice a day, train in the morning, go work, go run that night, or train in the morning, go work a 10-hour shift, and then go back to the gym that night, man. I know what it's like. And so I know what it's like for fans to come and spend their hard-earned money on your fight. And every time I'm in the ring, man, I always have that in my mind. And I understand that if somebody is spending their last, $100 to come see me fight, I want to give them a show. And I really do mean that, man. Every single one of my fights, there's ways that like I know that I could just outbox them and I can win that way. Um, but I always want to pay respect to the fans that have given me respect and have spent their hard-earned money to come and watch me fight. And man, I really do mean that. I have the utmost respect for the fans, who ultimately support our sport.
That's respect, man. That's respect. Like you take that into consideration. Like you want to
Yeah,
entertain, you want to satisfy,
yeah, because I
your
know what
fan
it's
base.
like, man. I know what it's like to like spend your hard-earned money on a pay-per-view, and you just watch some guy like dance around the ring the whole time, like and like obviously, sometimes that's what it takes. But like I'm also super conscious that like, no, like let me get them a show, man. They came out to see me, dog. Let me get them a show. Let me get them something to remember. Let me give them a reason to come back. I want them to go home and tell their wife, man, like this Ebenezer kid, he's something special. Like, man, and I really do have that in my mind every time I go out there to perform. Even in
That's
the
dope.
amateurs,
That's dope.
um, it didn't matter like if I was fighting another top ranked guy. I always had that mentality and had that on my mind. Like, man, there's people who came out to see me fight, and it's their first time ever watching boxing. Let me be a good ambassador of the sport and really like show them like, no, this is what boxing's about, and this is why you should be a fan for life.
That's dope. You see, this is what I like about you, man. You just get it. You just
Yeah.
get it. I mean, you just get it because you brought up Shakur, and I've heard that comment, and I know I get where he's coming from. Right? He's in the ring, he's winning, he wants to do it on his own terms, but he forgets that he also has a fan base.
Right.
And now in the day and age that we live in, fans want to be entertained, right? It's all about
Yeah.
the knockout and all that other stuff. I like Shakur. I
Right.
love what he does in the ring, and I think it's entertaining because it's the sweet science. But a lot of
Yeah,
people
I do.
think
I
it's
do as
boring.
well.
A lot of people think
Um.
it's boring, and that's their preference. So I'm not saying that he has to purposely be a different fighter because that's not how he's built. But the fact
Right.
that you consider that, maybe he should consider that. Maybe there are fights that he should step on the gas when he chooses
Yeah.
not to. I'm just throwing that out there.
Absolutely. I like the way you worded it. At the end of the day, nobody's in there taking the punches for us.
Right.
Um, every time we get in the ring, it's literally like shortening our lifespan. It doesn't matter like how much or how little you get hit. It's shortening
Facts.
your lifespan, and nobody else is taking the punches for me. And so I can't judge them, for doing that. But that's just not who I am, and that's just not how I was raised, how life like affected me, and
No,
like
for
made
sure.
me to the man I am today.
For
I
sure.
know what it's like to to make that money to spend it on something and not have it live up to your expectations. And I never want anyone to have that experience when they come to watch me fight.
Ah, man, the more you talk, the more I love you, man. I mean, like I said, I mean, you just well, I'm a fan already, man.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
I got you. I'm always going to support, but I mean, this is real stuff coming from a 22-year-old. I mean, that to me, that's pretty impressive. I'm much older than you, but you're a young guy, and a lot of times young fighters don't think that way. So much respect. I love, I love, you know, that perspective. I really do, and I wish a lot of other young fighters had that same perspective because this sport, in my opinion, is the best sport in the world. But
Right.
it's taken its lumps, right? It's
Yeah.
been criticized for years, right? And I think, and I say this to my viewers all the time, boxing is its own worst enemy because we're quick to say the sport is not the way it used to be in the golden era, right? When the best fought the best and it was about legacy. But it can be that way. We have the fighters that can make it special. It's just that there's other agendas, right?
Right.
There's other agendas.
Um,
So
I got two
go ahead,
things for you.
go ahead, champ. Go ahead, take it away.
So I'm 22, right?
Hmm.
Um, my dad always taught me that he was like, you don't measure a man by the amount of years he's lived. He was like, you measure him by his actions. Um, the way he carries himself and the way he conducts himself, the way he treats other people. And he also told me, he was like, you can be 35 years old and be a kid. He's like you can be 16 years old, and be a man. That 16-year-old boy that, let's say he has a child, at 16 years old, and he starts working at a factory. He puts in his hours, and he supports him and his lady, takes care of the child. That's a grown man. It doesn't matter the amount of years he's lived, man. He's a grown man. He's taking care of his business. He's taking care of his family. He's doing the right things. But also, you can, in the exact same opposite way, you could be a 35-year-old man, not take care of your family, not treat people with respect, not just handle your business, and not be a man and be a boy at 35 years old. And I really feel like that's something I'm hyper conscious of. It's like, man, like who am I becoming? And that's something that I've always like taken just outside of the sport as well. I always tell people there's so much more to me than just boxing. Boxing is every boxing is everything. Boxing is everything I am, but it's not everything about me. And I always tell people there's so much more than just the boxing.
Respect. Can you pass a message along to your parents for me?
Potentially.
Tell them that I said they did a fantastic job raising raising you. You're a tremendous young man with a bright future, and like I said, the way you broke that down was, it's a testament with how you were raised.
Thank
And
you.
your dad is absolutely right because I've come across immature people that are just as old as I am, sometimes even older. And here you are, at 22 years old, and you're so mature beyond your age. And yeah, that's a shout out to you.
Thank you.
And that's a shout out to your parents. I just want to, make sure you thank them. Pass that message along,
Yeah,
man.
absolutely.
If you can.
Also,
But what was
we were
that?
talking about you're talking about Turkey, right?
No, no, we're gonna
Um,
get it. Yeah, I was talking about Turkey in a second, but before we get into
go ahead, go
Turkey,
ahead.
because I do want to get your breakdown on what happened over the weekend, because I know you're a student of the game. When you start talking about Sugar Ray Roberto Duran and Sweet Pea and all
Yeah,
these other fighters that you take tidbits off of at your age, I'm impressed because I'm a big fan of the old school fighters because I'm an older guy.
right,
I grew up in that era. So
right.
you are a student of the game. I can definitely appreciate that. But before we get into that, you're from Louisville, Kentucky, obviously the birthplace of Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time. And one of the things that I noticed about you after your first pro fight was the joy in your face that you had, like to perform, because that was in Kentucky, right? That first fight was in
Right,
Kentucky. So it was just genuine. Like it looked like this is where I want to be, in this victory home.
right.
This is where I represent, I'm from here. I want to
Yeah.
be great. But how important is it for you to put Louisville, Kentucky back on the map and be a world champion one day, representing Louisville?
Man, um, I really do feel like Kentucky is the greatest state in the world, man. And not just because I grew up there, but just because I know what's in Kentucky. People are like, man, what's in Kentucky? Bro, Kentucky is the most like magical place on earth. It's beautiful. It's vibrant. It's full of life. When I say like life, I mean like life, not just like people, man. But it's full of life. It's like animals everywhere. It's trees. I live in Denver, Colorado. Now I train in the altitude, and I've made this my home and my base to train out of. But man, there's not a day that goes by that I don't miss the humid air in Kentucky, and just like the trees, man. The trees are so green, and they're big, and they're massive, and it's just life in Kentucky. And it's not many places like that. And man, I'm super excited to represent the state of Kentucky, and the city of Louisville, just because of everything that it gave me. I'm from the city, man. I grew up going to Thunder over Louisville, the Kentucky Derby, and I grew up watching these guys like man, like Lamar Jackson come through, and Donovan Mitchell, and
Mhm.
Bryson Tiller, ESTG, just like all these celebrities, grow up in Louisville, and go to the same high schools that I was going to, and um, man, I just want to put my birthplace and the city that's given me so much. I want to put it on the map, and I want people to know that Louisville, Kentucky is the home of Ebenezer Griffith, world champion. And man, um, and also another thing, I want to bring back fighters fighting in their hometowns.
Mm.
Man, Keyshawn Davis just fought in his hometown,
Mm-hmm.
Norfolk, Virginia, and
Absolutely.
it was, man, I was so inspired by that just because I
It
saw,
was lit.
um,
It was lit.
yeah, but I also saw like how much it meant to the community there. During fight week, he was going to the different like middle schools and the different high schools, and he was saying like, "Yo, I come from where you come from. I did it. I promise you, you can do it. We come from the same place. Like you can do it." And I really want to bring that message to everyone in Louisville, and just tell them like, "Yo, I come from where you come from. Like I've walked these same streets. I've stopped at these same stoplights, man. I've gone to these same like events that you go to, bro. And I promise you, like, no matter what your situation is, I did it. I come from this place, and I want to inspire you. I want to give you hope. Like you can make it out too."
Dope. Dope. That's gonna happen. It's only a matter of time. You're still young. There's plenty of time, but that's gonna happen. That is totally gonna happen. And like I said, I look forward to it. I really do. I'm excited. We have another question from Liz Rosado, who happens to be my wife, and she's showing some love. She came out to support, man. Preferred?
Absolutely.
What is your preferred tactic for gaining an advantage in the ring? You might have answered that earlier.
Um, Preferred tactic for getting an advantage in the ring. I would say everything goes back to my fundamentals. I always say that like, every fighter would tell you, "Oh man, I'm a master boxer," But man, bro, I really do have a master's degree in boxing. If anyone's seen like any of my recent fights, man, I really do feel that my skill set and my IQ in the ring
Your
is
IQ. I was just gonna say your IQ. Yeah.
um man, my first ever trainer, that I was telling you guys about, he told me one time, I was at the gym, and I was like squatting down, and like he was like, "Young man, stand up." He was like, "God blessed you with this certain gift." I have like really really like freakishly long arms, and he
Hmm.
was like, "God blessed you with this gift." He was like, "Why are you going to take God's blessing and put it down there?" He was like, "Use the gift God blessed you with, man." And God blessed me with an understanding of just boxing on a whole nother level. And when I'm in the ring, it's like everything slows down. It's my place where I can really like be myself. Um, there's no other place that I feel more at home than when I'm in the boxing ring. And it can be just like shadow boxing in the ring,
Hmm.
sparring, and obviously like the fights, man. I feel so just relaxed in there, and man, I feel at home. There's no anxiousness or nervousness when I'm in there. It's like it's the one environment where I really can control everything that's going on. If I walk outside, man, I have no control over what happens. A car could peel off the street and hit me while I'm going for my run. I went for a run like an hour and a half ago. I almost got hit by a car today, bro. Some
Damn.
dudes just like, yeah, coming off the freeway. Some dudes coming off the freeway, and like I'm crossed in at the intersection, and you're supposed to yield to like the pedestrians that are walking. Bro doesn't care. He just blew right in front of me. But like,
Oof. Wow.
I have no control over things like that.
Sure.
But when I'm in the boxing ring, man, I really do feel like this is home, and like
Mm.
this is this is me. Everything in this place, God gave to me. Like everything in this boxing ring, God gave to me, and like, man, I'm at home.
Dope. Dope, man. Well, thank God, man. I mean, earlier that's pretty crazy, man. I got my man
Yeah,
Tip Bayless from the Boxing Voice in the building. Going on, champ. Thanks for rocking out with us. I am here with Ebenezer Stuntman Griffith, 4-0, up and coming prospect at 154, right? Because BoxRec has you as a middleweight, but you prefer to fight at 154, correct?
yes, yeah. My last fight was at 154. That's where I
Okay.
plan on campaigning from in the future. That's where my next fight's at, 154. So
Good, because that division is on fire right now. In fact, let's
yeah,
jump right into Saturday's card, man. The last crescendo,
absolutely.
Turkey Ala Sheik. He put it on, man, from top to bottom. The card was stacked on paper. I thought it delivered. We loved it. I broke it down yesterday with my man Ryan from Boxing Talk up north. We went over every single fight.
Right.
And again, Turkey Ala Sheik, in my opinion, doesn't disappoint, man. Doesn't
Yeah.
disappoint. The
Yeah.
card was $26. You cannot beat that
You
with a
can't, man.
baseball bat. But
No.
tell me, man, tell me what you thought about this card in totality before we get into a little bit of the specifics. Because there's one fight in there that I want you to break down for me that happened to be in your
I
division.
already, I knew you were gonna ask you about that one.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what do you think about the whole card in totality?
Man, overall, an amazing card. Um, it was one of those nights that just remind you why you love the sport. I
Absolutely.
love those nights in boxing, man. That just, um, as boxing fans, man, we tend to bash our own sport like so much. Sometimes deservedly so. But I really love those nights where just you're like, man, this is why I love this sport. This is why I fell in love with it in the beginning, man. And last night was definitely one of those nights, just from top to bottom. There were so many like 50-50 fights. We had
Mhm.
a great upset with Zhang. Man,
I
and
got that
and
one wrong. I got that one wrong.
I uh I knew that Caballero had a shot. I had watched a lot of film on him. Well, not a lot, but I had watched a few of his fights before, and I knew just how strong he was on the inside, and also his hand speed and the body shots. The body shots aren't isn't just something that he did in his fight with Zhang. He does that every single
Yeah.
fight. It's one of his staples, and heavyweights in general don't throw that many body shots just because it's so dangerous for them to pull their hands away from their face, because you got all that power opposite you,
Correct.
you can go
Correct.
to sleep at any moment in a heavyweight fight. So they never really throw as many body shots. And that's one thing I love about Caballero's game is that like he's one of these heavyweights that really does throw body shots and man, like we saw last night, it was giving Zhang like the fits.
It's crazy. This dude's belly was like medium rare, man. He was just killing that body, but it wasn't even just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
body. A lot of good combinations, man. I mean, he let his hands go. He was throwing 3, 4 punch combinations. In fact, my man Tick Bayless, we were doing a live fight chat on the Boxing Voice for that, and we were, that was a fight that we were all like, yo, like Caballero has arrived, man.
Right.
He's legit, man. He's somebody
Yeah.
that you have to take serious in the heavyweight division, man. I mean, Tip Bayless was there for sure. I just left the gym with Jaleel Hackett. That's what's up, man. Putting in that work, brother. You know how we do it up here. I'm here with Stuntman Griffin. We breaking down the fights on Saturday, Turkey Ala Sheik. But yeah, shout out to Caballero. I thought the first fight set the tone too. Like on paper,
What? T. Smith.
yeah, but here's my take on paper. When I first saw the card, now, and I thought this was a good fight. I just thought that all the other fights were better. So I
Yeah.
thought this
Yeah.
was like the weakest link out of all of them. And again, it's no
Right.
criticism. I'm just saying all the other ones are better.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
fight ended
absolutely.
up being one of the best ones of the night, and it opened up the card, man. What you think about
Yeah.
that one?
Um, I've never been that high on Buatsi.
Mm.
Um,
And you know, you're
to
not the only
me,
person that has said that, though.
yeah, I know Anthony Sims and him have a history, man. That's
Anthony
my
Sims
guy.
wants that smoke. Shout out to Black Sugar Sims if he's watching.
Uh,
That's my brother, man.
the
That's my brother. He's a
magician.
regular on here. So I'm gonna make sure I
Yeah,
let him know that
absolutely.
you were on here so he can check out the recording if he's not on live.
Yeah,
But yeah, so you weren't high
man.
on
But
Buatsi. So you weren't shocked that that happened?
nah, no, not
Mm,
at all.
okay.
Buatsi's been protected his whole career. Who has he fought?
Very
Um,
true.
and then also Buat, my coach, he always said you have to know who you are in the ring. Um,
Hmm.
I don't. Whenever I watch Buatsi fight, it doesn't look like he knows who he is in the ring. It doesn't. He doesn't know whether he wants to be a slick counter punching boxer, like moving, sticking, moving on the jab, slipping, throwing right hands, or if he wants to be this walk you down, high guard kind of guy. Um, and I think that really showed. He during the fight, it was a great fight. Um, Callum Smith passed his prime. But
That's what I was worried about, champ. That's what I was
nonetheless,
worried
it was
about.
still a great.
I was
Yeah, it
worried,
was.
like, because he has a lot of
Go ahead.
miles on his tire. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know, he's obviously faced a better competition and he's accomplished, but I thought that was what kind of swayed me. But you're right, man. I mean, obviously, Tip agrees with you. Doesn't believe that Buatsi has much of an arsenal. He does have a good, strong power left hand. Like his jab is good,
yeah, he does have a
but
good jab.
Callum Smith put the beats on him, man, for most of that fight, man. There was one point that we're like, damn, this guy, he's he obviously he's taking a lot of leather, but he gave
Right,
some as well. I thought it was a really good fight, but they got that one right. So wow, that's weird. I didn't know that you how you felt about Buatsi, but this is why I love to get fighters' perspectives, right?
right.
Because again, I knew you were gonna be the perfect person to jump on and break this down with me because this is what you do,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
when you watch these fights. So I love it. I love it. So Callum Smith, like I said, I thought it was a good fight that opened up
Yeah,
we were like, yo, man, if every other fight's gonna be as good as this first one,
yeah.
man, we're in a hell of a treat because it was a long day.
Right.
I mean,
Callum did look good. I said earlier that he was past his prime, and I believe that. But he did look good. He did look
yeah.
good.
I think there's a little bit left in the gas tank. Who would you like to see Callum fight next? Who were you?
Man, I feel like it has to be Benavidez.
Yeah,
Just because Bivol and Better Biev are going to have that trilogy. I want
absolutely.
to see Benavidez stay active, and that'd be a good payday for Callum Smith. He's made enough money, obviously. He's fought Canelo, he's fought Better Biev, but I would love to see that fight, and I think Benavidez stops him. Um, I think once you're at a certain level, Callum Smith's the kind of fighter that will fold. Um,
Mm,
and
mm,
I think, you know, and I don't say that lightly because I
yeah,
understand that the two guys that beat him or that knocked him out were Better Biev and Canelo, two all time greats. But I feel that way about Benavidez, man. I think Benavidez, he's hungry, and I think he's a lot more skilled than people give him credit for.
yeah. No, I agree. What about Buatsi? I would love. Well, we would love Black Sugar Sims if he got shot. I don't know if that happens,
Yeah,
but one fight that I would like to see is maybe Buatsi against Morrell, David Morrell.
yeah.
What do you think about that?
Morrell could be good. Um, I don't think they make that fight just because. To be honest with you, I think everyone stays away from Morrell now.
Really? Yeah. Well,
Yeah, he's
people have
he's
put him
so
before.
he's a dangerous fighter, and at this point, they're like, oh, he got an L, I don't got to fight him, So I don't think any of them are gonna fight Morrell. I want to see him with Anthony Sims for sure, though.
That'd be dope. We got to speak that into
Yeah,
existence. I got to get Sims back up in here, man, so he can talk his shit, man. Tim Bailey said,
yeah.
"Experience favorite Callum." Absolutely, absolutely. And we just went over the Kabayel Zhang fight, but let's go right back to that one real quick. What do you think is next for Kabayel? What would you like to see him in the ring against?
Ooh, next for Caballero. Oh man, that's hard to say. I want to see. I was gonna say Joseph Parker, but I want to see Joseph Parker with Usyk next.
Yeah.
Um, but Caballero, whoever doesn't fight Usyk between Joseph Parker and Daniel Dubois, I want to see Caballero fight the other one.
Okay.
So if Joseph Parker fights Alexander Usyk, I want to see Daniel Dubois fight Caballero. If if Parker fights Usyk, then I want to see Daniel, or the other way around. If Dubois fights Usyk, I want to see Parker fight Caballero. Whichever
No,
one.
no, I get it. I get it. Do you think this is the end for Big Bang Zhang when he's up there in age? He got cooked in this fight.
uh man, one thing I love about Turkey is that if you take an L, he's not afraid to bring you back, you know.
Right.
That's one thing I love. So who can call it, man?
I still would like to see Big Bang against Bacoli. We'll get to Bacoli in a second. Obviously, he jumped in
Man,
there for Dubois to face Parker, but let's stay in order here because the next fight is a fight that I definitely want to get your take on because it's hot in your division. You got Virgil Ortiz. I believe that was that the next fight? Yeah, that was the next fight because the Adamas
yeah, it
Shiraz
was.
fight, I believe, was after that. Virgil Ortiz, Israel Madrimov. That's a fight that a lot of people were really, really high on based on styles. It was kind of, for me, it was a tale of two halves, right? Because Madrimov did a lot of moving the first half of that fight.
Right,
And then once he got stationary, and Virgil didn't do enough punching. Obviously, he was trying to cut off the ring, applying that mental pressure. He could have let his hands go a little bit more, but again, I guess it was more calculated. But once he started to go to the body, and this guy got more stationary, he got into a better fight in the second
right.
half, in my opinion, and it was great in the second half. He wins by unanimous decision. Break down that fight, but for me, what do you think about that fight?
Man, Virgil looked good. I'm not gonna lie to you. Coming into the fight, I wasn't as high on Virgil Ortiz. I felt that he
Okay.
wasn't. I thought he lost to Boachuk.
Yes, same here.
I
Yeah,
thought he
absolutely.
lost to Boachuk, man.
Same here.
Boachuk
Same here.
knocked him down twice. If you knock a guy down twice, all you have to do is win what, two other rounds to make it a tie. You
Yeah.
know, and that's at least a tie. I thought he lost. I wasn't high on him coming into the fight. I thought he lacked diversity, and I thought he wasn't able to make adjustments. Just from what I saw in the Boachuk fight, I saw Boachuk's pressure getting to him just like so much, and it showed like how bad his defense was. Um, he definitely fought a great fight though. Virgil Ortiz did, man. Um, and Madrimov did it. Um,
Mm.
Everyone was talking about how good Madrimov was boxing. I'm like, bro, this isn't boxing. When we look at like guys that were quote unquote moving a lot, right? So
He
we
was
think
moving
about
too
like,
much. Like
yeah,
to me, it was a lot of unnecessary movement.
well, it was ineffective movement. Like when we look at like Floyd
Yeah.
Mayweather, like Pernell Whitaker, one, they didn't move as much as Madrimov was moving. Even like when Floyd Mayweather fought Maidana, he wasn't in the first and the second fight. He wasn't moving nearly as much as Madrimov was moving. And then also when they're moving, they're jabbing, they're check hooking, they're jabbing to the body. Like Floyd Mayweather, he's famous for that jab to the body, that stabbing shot. Suck the energy out of
I
you to the
love that
body.
punch. I love that stab jab to the
Yeah,
body.
I do too. It's one of my favorite shots.
Oh God.
But I didn't see any of that from Madrimal. He was just like, it looked like he was super, super timid because of the power that Virgil Ortiz had. And I'm not necessarily sure that it was because Virgil would put on like a crazy good performance, um, more so than it was Madrimov just didn't show up to fight. I think
Yeah.
it's a combination of both. I think Virgil Ortiz showed up and he had a really good performance. And I think Madrimov didn't show up and he just danced around the ring looking goofy for 12 rounds.
So who would you like to see Virgil next? What I said on the panel that day was I'd love to see a rematch with Boyacek. I think Boyacek deserves a rematch because, in my opinion, he won the first fight. But I don't know if that happens. If it doesn't, who would you like to see Virgil fight next?
Man, Crawford, but that's not gonna happen.
That ain't happening.
So I'll give you somebody else. Man, I think Top Rank keeps Xander away from him. That's a good way for Xander to get knocked out. Um, I want to see Verge, man, that rematch with Boachuk. I would love to see that.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
really
yeah.
want to. I'm not really like. I think he's had two like really rough fights, um, like back to back. I don't think it's necessarily like the smartest to go into a fight with. You need to let your brain heal. I think he needs to take like 4 or 5 months off, and then go into training camp. So I think it'd be good for him to take a little bit of time off, let his
Yeah,
brain let his brain and body recover, and then get back in the ring with whoever.
that's fair. No,
Yeah,
no,
with
that's absolutely
Boachuk.
fair. Yeah, the 154-pound division, man, that's where it's at, man. That's where it's at. How long physically do you feel like you're going to be able to? I mean, you can't tell the future, but do you feel good at 154? Do you feel like you can be in this division for a little while, few years, maybe?
I feel great at 154.
Okay.
I I'm I'm a professional. I have a strength and conditioning coach that I work with year round, Isaac Sprinkle, and Aaron Porter. And then I'm also in the gym year round. I'm one of these. If it on my Instagram, on my Facebook, all social medias, um, everyone knows like I stay in the gym, both like doing strength and conditioning, doing boxing, like year round. I don't take any time off, and I think that like that's like something that people love. Like it inspires them, to stay more consistent. When they see me in the gym like year round. It doesn't matter if I'm going home to visit my family for Christmas or Thanksgiving. Like I went home to visit my mom for Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving morning I got up, I got 8 rounds of sparring in Kentucky, and then I went for a run after Thanksgiving dinner. So I don't take any days off, man. I think 154 I can make this weight comfortably for the next several years.
You the man, champ. You the man, man. We got Tip Bayless. Both of Callum's losses came from fighters who not only just pressure but punch. Benavidez will beat Smith by TKO. I think that's what you said, right? You said the same
Yeah,
thing. You think Benavidez stops him.
yeah.
So Tip is definitely aboard with you. Best fight for Zhang is Luis Ortiz senior citizen fight.
What about Andy Ruiz
That's funny.
for
Andy
Zhang?
Ruiz, yeah, why not? Why not, man? Why not?
What's your
Listen,
take
I
on
mean, hey,
Zhang?
listen, one last hurrah for Big Bang Zhang, man.
Undisciplined
One last hurrah.
dude, man.
He
Andy
laughing
Ruiz.
at his own jokes there. Tim Bayless. He said you spitting, and you right, man. You spitting knowledge, man. Nah. Future champ in the building, man. Stuntman Griffith is shooting. He's spitting up in the hangout spot. He is here live and direct. Manuel LG. What's going on, champ? Thanks for rocking out with us. Virgil Bakram.
Ooh,
Oh, that'd be a barn burner.
yeah,
I mean, sign
yeah,
me up. But it
yeah.
seems like, yo, why is it nobody really calling Bakram out? He's got a strap. Like nobody's talking about this guy.
I think one he has no name, and I know that's such like a boxer answer to be like, oh, he don't got a name. That's like an easy way
That
to
is a
avoid
box.
guy.
That is a boxer answer.
But like in this situation, I don't think it's necessarily that he's this uber dangerous fighter. Because what have we seen from him in his fight with Tim Zoo? Zoo had no head movement. Like go back and watch that fight. Tim Zoo
I was there. I
got
was
a.
not. We were working media for that fight. It was crazy.
Oh, for you were in the building.
Yeah, I was in the
Um,
building. Yeah,
Tim Zoo, I think Mortazalita showed just how inept Zoo was from a boxing standpoint. Like Zoo had no jab, he had no head movement. He would get hurt and he would go right back into like exchanging and keeping his hands down. I think a technical boxer um, is able to get around Mortazalita and where somebody's better than Zoo, man. Like Zoo, I've never been like that high on Zoo, and I think like especially now, just because it showed that he has no defense.
no, that's
He
what's
and
up.
not even just like he doesn't even block. Like forget moving your head and rolling, he doesn't even block, which is like crazy. You know, his his remedy to somebody throwing a big left hook it's to put his chin into the air and throw a left hook of his own. Like I think Virgil Ortiz has the defense to be able to block and pick off those shots. And then also Murtaza Aliyev. We've seen a lot of these Eastern European fighters. They don't respond well to body shots, and Virgil Ortiz is a master body puncher.
Great body puncher. You're absolutely right.
Call him Mike McCallum.
Mike McCallum, a student of the game. That's what I'm talking about. One of the best to ever do it, man. We got Justin Sutherland in the building. That's right, baby. Fire emojis for Stuntman Griffith, who's in the building with us. How about and I want to move on quick so we can go over the other fights, because I know I've had you here for a long time. What about Virgil against Fundora down the road?
I see that. I think Fundora is going up to 60 soon.
Think so? Well, he definitely has the height to be able to do that. Yeah.
I think one more, maybe two more fights, but I think one more fight, he's going up to 60. Especially if he takes an L, he's going up to 60.
He's fighting Cordell Booker. Yeah, he's fighting Cordell Booker next, right?
I will have Virgil in that fight either way. I don't think Fundora has the defense, and he gets hit too much. You remember his fight with Jesus Mendoza? Mm-hmm. They just showed like how much he got hit. Even his fight with Erickson Lubin, Fundora with Lubin, Fundora got dropped twice.
He got dropped, yeah.
He got dropped twice, and he got hurt several times. He gets hit too much. And man, with a puncher like Virgil Ortiz, Virgil would maybe stop him. I'm not gonna say stop him, but Virgil would beat him up.
Yeah. No, that would be pretty interesting. You're right. And shout out to my man Lubin, man. He trains out here at Pro Box. About less than an hour. Pro Box is like family to me. I work all their cards. Yeah. Great people, great facility. So he trains out of there. Shout out to him. I see him all the time. I would love to see him get in the mix as well.
My buddy just fought on Pro Box.
Man, what's up?
My buddy just fought on Pro Box last week. Me and him get a lot of sparring work in. Jose Ariano.
Yeah. I didn't work that card because that card was in California.
Yeah,
that card was we were watching. Yeah, me and Nestor from the Boxing Voice, we did a live fight chat for that card. We were watching it live and we did a fight chat. But everything in Florida that they do, I cover here at the Pro Box.
What did you think about his fight with Gabe Flores, Ariano?
I mean, it was underwhelming. We were expecting more out of that fight. I thought he did well. I thought Ariano did really, really well. I thought he did well in that fight.
Flores didn't come to fight.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. We were very disappointed in Gabe's performance in that fight. Like it was underwhelming, as a fight. But
I thought Jose won like the middle 6 rounds just because of Gabe's inactivity.
He put some good work. Yeah, no, he put some good work in that fight, man. I didn't know. Yeah, so you train with? You said that you train with him, or would you just say?
We get a lot of sparring together.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. That's my guy. We get a lot of
yeah. That's what's up. Yeah. I mean, it was what it was. Like I said, Gabe Flores started off fast. I think he dropped him in the first round, if I'm not mistaken.
And then he took a page
then he got hit.
Madrimov's book and didn't do nothing for 6 rounds straight. It was crazy.
Well, I think he landed a big shot, if I'm not mistaken, on Gabe Flores in the second round. And it was a big shot or something that kind of buzzed him, and I think Gabe, I don't know, maybe his game plan changed after that or whatever, but it just wasn't. Yeah, Gabe wasn't very underwhelming, unlike Pro Box. And we were saying this, to the chat members because usually Pro Box, the deal, right? They don't like to pit runners, or they like to pit guys that are going to fight mostly 50-50 caliber fights, usually in main events, regardless of the names of fire. This one was underwhelming. Yeah. The chat members were complaining. But it was what it was. I thought he put up an admirable performance, but it just from an entertainment standpoint, a lot of people were disappointed by it. But he's got to get right back into it, man. Just get right back into the mix, man. That's how you do it up. But now it was a good breakdown. The next fight, to me, is pretty simple. That was the Adames Hamza Shiraz fight. Now you said something about Buatsi that I think is it the same for Shiraz? Like you said, you didn't think Buatsi was all that. Do you feel the same thing about Shiraz? Because that performance was very underwhelming. We had Adames winning that fight. It wasn't a great fight either.
I had Adames winning. That was entertaining fight to me though. From the X's and O's standpoint, I love seeing like a super tall guy versus a lot shorter guy. Just
Okay.
seeing like how the shorter guy's gonna work his way in, how he's gonna cut off the ring. Um, like I feel like people in the media are so quick to label fighters runners as opposed to saying like, hey, why don't you have good footwork and cut this guy off? Like Virgil Ortiz, he did a great job of cutting off Madrimov. Like
Yeah.
going to the body, not chasing the head, not lunging with looping left hooks, but like methodically, like using great footwork, lateral, and like actually cutting off the ring. So I thought that was a great fight. I did think that Adamas won.
Yeah, we
But
did
here's where I'm gonna say that Shiraz differs from Buatsi. Shiraz actually has an identity. Um, Shiraz has very fast hands. He's going to throw combinations from the outside. He's not going to go on the inside and like he's not going to throw like really heavy bombs. He's going to throw combinations. And he knows who he is. That being said, though, I think he is like slightly overrated, but at least he has an identity.
Yeah, see, that's where I was going with it. I think there's a little bit more hype to the substance. And we've seen this before in the past. And I don't say, listen, one thing
Yeah.
you know if you watch my channel, champ, I never disrespect fighters. First of all, I hate podcasters, fans that call fighters bums. This like that doesn't exist in my vocabulary. No fighter, no way. All fighters deserve respect. Like I told you earlier, you lace up a pair of gloves, you get up in there, risk your life for
Yeah.
entertainment. You deserve respect. So I don't do that. But there's a little bit more hype than I think, and it's to me, it's a lot of the guys from overseas, like it doesn't translate when they come to this. I know this
Right.
one.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I
It
know this
don't.
wasn't in the States, but it
Yeah.
just doesn't translate here.
It doesn't.
So
Yeah.
that's why I'm always leery of those guys. Like, okay, well, he's
Yeah.
cooking dudes in the UK, but what's he gonna do
Yeah.
when he comes to
Yeah.
the States or he faces
Exactly.
a real, an American guy or whatever it was? I know.
Saw that with Josh Taylor.
Yeah, so
He came up with Teofimo and got smacked.
smacked. He got smacked. He wasn't kidding. But so again, I was disappointed. I picked Shiraz, man. I went
I
with the
got
hype.
a
I
I
went
got
with
a
the hype and
fight.
I lost.
I
It
got
was
a
a draw,
fight for
but
Shiraz. I actually picked Adamas, but I got a fight for Shiraz next.
who?
I'm about to play matchmaker real quick.
Go ahead, kick it, chat.
Ben Whitaker.
Wow. Is it safe to say, and I don't want to say this too
Two
loud on,
overrated guys.
is it safe to say hype versus hype? Which one is the most
Yeah,
overrated out
yeah,
of both of them?
exactly, man. That fight's gonna be fought on Instagram,
That's dope. I
and
love it.
that
Sign
that
me up,
fight's gonna
man.
be fought at the press conference. Matter of fact, they should charge pay-per-view for the press conference, and then give the fight away for free.
You
You know
saw,
what I'm saying, bro?
you know who would say that? Anthony Sims, Black Sugar Sims would say that because he's definitely not a Ben Whitaker guy.
Duh, they need to charge pay-per-view. Make that thing $100 for the pay-per-view, and the pay-per-view is just the press conference.
Oh,
And then make the fight free. Give it on free YouTube. Put it on ProBox.
that would be something special, man. You got equal. I like that. I like that.
Neither of them dudes
Equal
can fight, man.
Italian 207 is in the building. What's going on, champ? Thanks for rocking out with us. Conwell against Fedora is a good fight. Okay. All right. I
Listen,
wouldn't mind. That's another guy, another guy that in that 154-pound division that's looking to make some noise. Sebastian Fedora versus Hamza Shiraz is a good fight to make at 160. What, the battle of the tall guys? At
man, I
160?
got I got Fedora. Fedora can fight.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
ain't no
Fedor's a
joke.
dog, man. Fedor's a dog. Again, Hamza Shiraz. I mean, I need to see a little bit more bark to that, a little bit more bite to that bark, so to speak. Like I said, Virgil Ortiz versus Bachram is a good fight to make at 154. Yes, sir. We talked about that. And we got my
Facts.
man, Diedrich Wetson, in the building. What's going on, brother? Let's go, man. Thank you for rocking out with us. Shakur Stevenson gets a last-minute replacement. Josh Padley. The fight that I wanted to see was him and Floyd Schofield because I thought Floyd Schofield's a young guy that would put some pressure on Shakur. I was looking forward to seeing that. I wasn't necessarily going to pick Floyd. I would have went with Shakur, but still, I thought that would have been a better fight. Again, you got to give Padley respect. 4 days notice, he comes in, does what he does. Shakur did what he needed to do. The one
Yeah.
thing that I was hoping for in this fight, champ, was that Shakur gets that stoppage, and he did. And now people complain that it was in the ninth round and not in the third round. Like, which one is it? He got the
Yeah.
stoppage. He did
Yeah.
what he needed to
Exactly.
do. So I thought that was a great performance.
Yeah.
My biggest concern about Shakur is his hands because he
Yeah.
was wincing a little bit. Is he going to have
Yeah.
brittle hands the
The
rest of his
whole
career?
fight.
The fight that I want to see is against Tank. Who knows if that happens? I don't know. But just a quick take on this one. What'd you see on
Uh,
this?
man, I thought Shakur did his thing. Styles make fights like you kind of like you were saying. Everybody wants you to get somebody out of there quicker. But at the end of the day, Styles make fights, man. Like we saw Floyd Mayweather knock Ricky Hatton out in what 9 rounds, 10 rounds, and then we saw Manny Pacquiao
Mhm.
knock him out in 2 rounds.
Right.
And then Floyd turns around and washes Manny Pacquiao, wins almost every round. So Styles make fights, man. I thought Shakur did a good job for how long of a layoff he had. And then not just the layoff, but being injured during the layoff, that's big too. That I think a lot of people are forgetting. Um, yeah, and I think that's really like all needs to be said. Padley's a dog though. Shout out to
Yeah.
Padley. Shout out to Josh Padley, man.
Dude was installing solar panels like 5 days before the
Shout out
fight.
Josh
You know what I'm
Padley,
saying?
man. Yeah, that's
And
what I love about boxing, man. Dude, he did not care. He was game. He got up from them body shots. You know how many people would have just like taken that body shot and then been like, all right, I'm chilling, man. I'm getting my 700K, and Turkey just bought me a house. I'm chilling,
a
man.
house.
He got up off the canvas and he was throwing heat back, man. So I shout out to Josh Padley, man. True warrior, true boxer, man. You can do nothing but commend him.
Absolutely, man. My biggest question after this, like I said, shout out to Padley, did what he needed to do. He saved the card. I would have preferred, people complain, but if you would have told me they were going to pull Shakur out because of no opponent, I would have been
Yeah,
disappointed. I want to see Shakur fight. Plus, he needed a fight, like you said.
yeah,
He was out. He was supposed to fight Zepeda, the hand injury. So, guys go through a tough training camp. At least let them get their fight, right?
yeah, for sure.
So he went, got his work, did what he needed to do. Now I just hope that maybe we see a Tank fight in the future.
Yeah, I think Tank and him is probably next.
Hopefully.
Given that Tank handles business against Roach.
Yeah, that's this Friday. We're gonna be breaking down that fight on Thursday. We are here with Ebenezer, Stuntman, Griffith at the Hangout spot. If you have not hit that like button, make sure you hit that like button, smash it. We got to get this channel out to the visibility of other boxing fans so that we know whenever we're rocking out every Tuesdays and Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and subscribe and tell a friend to tell a friend. The co-main event, again, another fight that I was looking forward to see was Joe Parker and Daniel Dubois. That didn't happen. Dubois got sick, and in comes Martin Bacoli.
Right.
And a lot of people that I spoke to when I was doing live fight chats on last Thursday and Friday was, this fight could be better. Wow. And I'm like, well, here's the deal with that. If Bacoli would have had an 8-week training camp, then
Yeah.
maybe. But you
Yeah. He
can't,
weighed in career high.
champ,
That
you
was
can't play
insane. Yeah.
boxing. You know that. You
Yeah.
can't play boxing. You can't come off the sofa, and without a full
Yeah.
training camp and expect to beat a heavyweight that's on a hot streak right now. I mean, he's a top 3
Yeah.
heavyweight, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think if Bacoli was in shape, this would have been like
A
a
better fight.
great fight, man. Like I would have loved to see that.
Yeah.
But I think just like him conditioning, his conditioning was just not. And also people don't understand conditioning is super big for your punch resistance. Also, the better shape you're in, the sharper you are. Um, your mind moves sharper too, not just your body, but like your mind is able to process things a lot quicker. You're able to see things a lot better. So who knows, man? But shout out to Joseph Parker for winning that fight.
Did what he need to
He did
do.
what
And you said
he
it.
did what he's supposed to.
And you said it earlier. He should get a shot at Usyk. I would love to see him get a
Yeah,
shot at Usyk. Hopefully that happens. I don't know what's going on with Dubois. I want to see him fight Dubois, though. I don't want to get cheated out of that fight.
yeah,
They got to make that fight happen too, because I
for
was
sure.
looking forward to that fight.
Yeah, no, I was too.
Yeah, man. But again, you got to give Bacoli credit. 48 hours.
Yeah.
Took a long flight to Saudi. I know he was compensated. I get it. But again, it takes a lot of guts to
Yeah,
step in there against arguably, like I said, a top 3, top 4 heavyweight, depending on who you ask.
right.
And Parker did what he needed to do. He proved that again. You can't play boxing. You can't.
Handle business. He
He
did what he's
handled
supposed to do.
business. That's the right way to put it, man. Last but not least, the main event. But before we get to that, Conwell will most likely. We got my man Ethan Serrano. What's going on, champ? Welcome aboard, man. Welcome aboard, man. Conwell will most likely fight Zayas, who for WBO Eliminator in June for Puerto Rican weekend in New York. Man, I hope so, because I'll probably be in the building for that one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? They did have some back and forth. Conwell is lobbying for a fight against Zayas, so maybe they make that happen. I don't know. I think that Top Rank, regardless of where he is or where they think he is in his development, they got to let the training wheels off. Like, let this dude fight. He wants to fight. Let him start facing former champions and eventually try to go for a strap. I mean,
man, I'm not impressed with Xander.
yeah, you said that on the Boxing Voice. Why do you say that?
Just because I see things from a technical standpoint. I'm not going to give away like everything that I see.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
But I don't see him as being like as complete of a fighter. And there's nothing that stands out to me about his game. Like, okay, for instance, kind of like what I was talking about with the identity thing, as far as like what is your identity in the ring as a boxer, when we were talking about Joshua Buatsi earlier. I feel like the same, not as much, because I think Xander's identity is like he's a combination puncher, that kind of thing. But also I think Xander just utilizes his size to beat a lot of these guys. That's props to him. He can make 154 like being that big. But I don't see like a lot of diversity and a lot of like raw skills to his game. Okay, for instance, Virgil Ortiz is an excellent body puncher and he has great power. Xander Zayas isn't a great body puncher. What does he do that's great?
He did do good body work in his last.
Devin Haney has a great jab, right? And like Xander Zayas' jab is like it's average, Let's say like he doesn't have some crazy power. And then like as far as just like his combinations, I see like a lack of imagination in his game. As far as just like all of his rounds look the exact same. It's like, bro, are you gonna do anything different? Are you gonna make an adjustment? I just see him like being so much bigger than these guys, and he eventually like wears them down.
Okay.
I'm not saying he's a bum or nothing. He's not a bum. He's in the position he's in for a reason. But I just see like a lot of different holes in his game, and I don't think he stays at 54 for too long.
Yeah, but, he's a big kid.
If that fight ever came up, man, I wouldn't hesitate to take that fight.
You would take that fight?
I would. I think he can. Yeah, I would love to. I would love to have like a full training camp for that fight, man. And I would love to take it.
Sign me up. So you said something, and I want to make a comparison because one guy that I liked a lot in his career was Danny Garcia, and I always consider Danny Garcia a fighter that does a lot of things good, but nothing great.
Yeah.
So,
okay,
are you saying that Xander is that guy? Like you think he's good, but nothing he does great? Like, is that your comparison? Is that fair to say?
Somewhat. I will give Danny Garcia this though. When he was at 140, he was a
You froze there, champ.
puncher.
Oh, there you go. You're back. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, you froze for a little bit. There you go. I got you back.
Gotcha. So when Danny Garcia was at 140 pounds, people forget he was a certified puncher.
Great timing as well.
Yeah, he had real pop though. Like I think people forget his fights with Lucas Matisse and Amir Khan. Like that dude had some serious pop at 140 pounds. In his real weight class, he was a force to be reckoned with. And even when he came up to welterweight, he had some like respectable pop. Go back and watch his fight with Keith Thurman. Garcia was the puncher in that fight.
Right.
Keith was the boxer, and coming into the fight, Keith was this guy that was, knocking everybody out. He was heavy-handed, but really look at the fight, man. Outside of that first round where Keith like buzzed him, Garcia was the puncher in the fight, and So I think Garcia definitely has an identity. And then also kind of like you were saying, great timing. People hear that word and they're just like, oh, that must mean he has a good IQ. No, it means like he really understands like, okay, when they're throwing this, I can step here and I
Yes.
can shoot this shot. Like, okay, let me
Yes.
make sure my feet are in position so that I can snatch the body shot underneath and make them bring their hands and then bring the shot up top. I can time them. Danny Garcia was he definitely had an identity. With Xander Zayas, man, I just don't see exactly what his identity is. Yeah, he throws like combinations. He's a combination puncher, but you can't do that against somebody who's sharp and who's like has crisp, sharp counters. Go back and look at Earl Spence versus Crawford. Crawford proved that you can be a guy that's coming forward and throwing like combinations, but if you run into somebody that knows how to properly counter, knows and can trust their defense, that's the big part about it is trusting your defense and trusting that okay, I can sit in the pocket with you and I can trust my defense enough to know that, okay, I can catch and I can shoot off of your shot, because if you're going to throw combination punches, you're going to be open.
Dope breakdown. Dope breakdown. You guys are both the same age too, right? Both of you guys are 22 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woo. Future is bright.
Yeah. I remember seeing him in the amateurs. We
Future
never
is
fought. He
bright.
was always a weight class bigger than me.
I was about to say, did you guys ever get close to getting that scrap on, man? But maybe in the pros, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sign me up, champ.
Yeah.
Sign me
Absolutely.
up. That'll be good. That'll be good. But main event. Give me your thoughts on the main event. This time Bivol wins the rematch. And to me, it was a tale of two halves because last fight Bivol started fast, and then Better Beef took control of the fight in the second half. Obviously, he wins by decision. A lot of people were going back and forth, thinking, did Bivol win? Did Better Beef win? So I thought the rematch was fitting. And shout
Right.
out to Turkey Al-Sheikh for making it happen right after the first, right? Sometimes we got to wait. We
Yeah.
got to wait two fights later, a year later. They got right back into it. And this time, Better Beef started fast, but Bivol showed some really, really good stuff in the ring, man. But tell me about that fight. Did they get it right? And what did you see in that fight?
Yeah. I think they got both fights right, to be honest with you.
Okay.
First off, that first fight, I'm gonna start with the first fight, and then we'll get to the second one. That first fight, it could have gone either way. And my coaches always tell me that, man, if you're ever complaining about a decision that really could have gone either way, it means you didn't do enough. And I really don't think that either one of them did enough to like say like, okay, I definitively won that first fight. That being said, though, I think Better BF had a stronger close to the fight.
That's what it was. Yep.
He hurt him in that 12th round, and he was really pouring it on. And so, you can't be upset either way. Excuse me, you can't be upset either way. But then this second fight, I think they got it right as well. I love the way Bivol was boxing. Bivol looked so much more assertive in this fight. That first fight, it looked like he was just like he was a lot more passive. And I think this fight, he really made a point of capitalizing during the breaks, right? So like, okay, Better BF throws, he throws his combination, and then Bivol throws, and then Better BF throws. Like they were taking turns. I think that this fight, Bivol did a much better job of punching between Better BF's punches. So whenever Better BF would turn Bivol and have him in the corner, he's throwing hooks and right hands. I loved how Bivol was able to slip off the jab and throw his own right hand and really just like punch in between his punches. And I thought that was definitely the turning point in the fight, was just Bivol's activity compared to the last fight.
Amazing breakdown. Would you like to see the trilogy, or would you prefer that maybe David Benavidez steps in there and fights Bivol? I mean, that's been rumors. Maybe he's going to be the guy next. I think they do a trilogy. Would you like to see a trilogy?
Uh Man, I wouldn't be mad at a trilogy. I would prefer to see Benavidez. I'm not gonna lie to you. Just because I've seen
Me
them for
too.
24 rounds. I've seen them for
Me
24
too.
rounds.
Me
But
too. I
I
kind of
don't think we
felt
can
that
be
way.
mad. Yeah.
I kind of felt the
Especially
same
with it
way you
being
did.
1-to-1. We can't be mad that we're getting a trilogy.
I think that's what's obviously going to be the deciding factor, right? I mean, just go at it, right? Break the tie. But after that fight, I was kind of like, man, I don't know if I want to see a third one though. I think the right guy won the second one. Let's get
Right.
Benavidez in the mix, man. I don't want to see him have to fight
Yeah.
somebody else. And I guess I say that for selfish reasons. I like David Benavidez. I had Jose Benavidez, his father, on a few weeks ago, and they were sent. He was telling me that they're flying him out to Saudi, and they were there.
Right.
And he didn't think at the time that there was any rematch clause. And I told him, I was like, Coach, I think if Bivol wins, they're gonna have to do a rematch. He's telling me, no,
Right.
I don't think so. So I don't know what's going on behind the scene with negotiations or whatnot. But I hope that
Right.
David Benavidez could get into the mix. But like you, man, if they do it, all right, I'm cool. I'll watch it. Hopefully they could do Benavidez in the undercard, right? The co-main event
Yeah.
against
Yeah.
Callum Smith or something like that, and maybe hyped up that fight. I don't know. But regardless, I don't think that Bivol did some incredible work
Yeah.
in this
I don't
fight.
think I don't think that fight happens till 2026 anyway. The trilogy.
Well, because of Ramadan and stuff like that with Beterbiev, right? Is that what they're saying, or do you just think they just take a break,
I
an
think they just take
extended
a
break
break. They went
next
from
week?
the first fight,
Well, that's a good point.
heavy training camp, and I think if they do fight a third time, which they might not even fight a third time, but if they do, then I don't think it happens till 2026. They're not going to go from back to back training camps, two brutal wars, right into a third training camp. I think that's something that the fans overlook a lot of the time is just how grueling these training camps are for us.
Facts.
Um, it's not easy to suck our bodies down to these weights. Um, that and then also the sparring, the amount of damage that you take on your brain. A lot of times the sparring is harder than the fights. And I don't think people realize that. Like we get in the fights and sparring. Um, and like obviously like sometimes it's more like of a slower pace sparring, but like man, a lot of times, especially when you're in training camp, you're sparring 3 times a week, right? So let's say you do 12 rounds on a Tuesday, 12 rounds on a Thursday, and then 12 to 10 rounds on a Saturday. Well, that's 36 rounds in a week that you just took to the brain. Um, and then also just like the damage it does to your back. I think that's something also that people really don't know about the sport, man. It's just like the training camps are so much harder than what people think. And then on top of that, we have like the running on our legs, the joints, and then the strength and conditioning that we do, on top of that as well. It's super super demanding physically, and that's why whenever fighters are out for like 6 months after their fight, man, I understand because I'm like, bro, you just had 8 weeks of 36 rounds of sparring a week. And then on top of that, whenever you spar, you also have another training session that same day. So it's not just like you just spar and that's all you do that day. No, you have a training session as well. You have to do. So I think they take some time off, and I think that fight doesn't happen until 2026.
You said everything that justifies why I don't call fighters bums, and I won't tolerate other fans to do that. What you guys put yourself through. The human body, what people don't realize is the human body wasn't meant to take that type of. I mean, you guys,
Yeah, not
you
at
give
all.
it all in the gym. You lay it all out on the line, sparring. I mean, putting
Right,
that pressure on your bodies. That's crazy.
right,
That's absolutely crazy. It takes sacrifice. It takes a lot of guts for somebody to lace them up. That's why, again, I will respect any fighter. There's different skill levels. I get that, and we can be opinionated to that, but we can't judge a fighter, by calling them, or degrading any fighter. I won't tolerate it. That's just not my style.
right.
But so going back to you, so what's next for you, champ? When do we expect to see you back in the ring, man? We fought in February. When do you want to get back
Right.
in there?
Yeah, so I'm scheduled right now to be back in the ring April 19th,
April. Okay.
on that Roy Jones Jr. card.
Okay, that's
Um,
right.
I think we talked earlier. I was originally scheduled to be on Top Rank. That fell
Yes.
through. I'm not gonna, get into the reason exactly why, but that fight ended up falling through. And yeah, man, I'm super super excited to be back in my hometown, to be back in Louisville, Kentucky, putting on for the entire city, man. I'm super super excited to kick off the spring, kick off the summer, man. We have um, a super super big schedule for the city of Louisville coming up, and I'm just so excited to really put on and just to show everyone exactly what it is that I'm gonna do for the city of Louisville and the state of Kentucky, man. I can't wait.
I can't wait either. I'm excited. One more last question. How many times do you see yourself fighting this year? You fought 3 times last year, right? Do you see yourself fighting another 3 times, maybe even possibly four?
I set a goal at the beginning of the year that I wanted to fight 6 times. That's going to
Wow.
be like really, really hard to do. It
That's rough.
obviously depends on it's definitely it's definitely depending on, like if you get cut in a fight, obviously that's going to delay it and, things like that. But as long as I'm coming out of these fights healthy and I'm taking care of business and fighting the way that I know I can fight, um, I would love to be in the ring at least 6 times this year. So I've already fought once this year. And then I'm fighting April 19th in my hometown. So 4 times after that would be ideal. And yeah, man, I'm super excited.
That's dope. But take it easy. Take it easy. Make sure you get through this next
Yeah,
one. Take care of your body. You're still young. I get it. I love the
absolutely.
enthusiasm to get back into the ring and wanting to be great, but you also got to be smart about it
Right,
because you're still
100%.
young. But I love your mentality, your drive, your determination to be great. I gotta tell you, man, this was an amazing interview. It was one of those like I don't even want it to end because the interview was great. I love your
Right.
breakdowns. I gotta tell you this. I tell everybody once they come to the hangout spot, they family. You family.
Yeah,
So you are
absolutely.
welcome back anytime. I would love to have you back after your fight. We could talk about that. And more importantly, I would love to have you come back to break down some fights, man, because I love your breakdown.
100%. Yeah, I'm a student of the game, man.
Absolutely.
I love watching fights, man. This is what I do. So man, I'll definitely be down to come by, break down some fights. Man, and yeah, I'm super excited, man. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Ebenezer Stuntman Griffith. I'm 22 years old from Louisville, Kentucky. Man, I'm super super excited for April 19th, man. This is going to be an incredible night, an incredible fight. You guys will not want to miss it, man. I'm the savior of the fight game, the leader of the Renaissance, man. I really do mean that.
You're exciting and you're confident. I love it. Where can they find you on social media if they're not following you, champ?
Yeah, so I'm on all social medias at Stuntman Official. You guys can follow my journey. I document a lot of different things on Instagram. That's where I'm most active at. As far as just like replying to DMs and things like that, I'm usually pretty good about it. Um, Sometimes it might take me a few days. I get a lot of DMs, but whenever people reach out, just asking for advice and things like that, I'm always happy to accommodate them. Man, but I would be remiss if I came on here and didn't breathe life into somebody. Man, I don't know who you are or what you're going through today, but I want to tell you to keep going. Man, I want to tell you that it's going to be okay. I want to tell you that success is on the other side of it, man. Because what's in front of you is so much bigger than what's behind you. The rear view mirror in your car is bigger than the windshield for a reason. Because what's in front of you is so much more important than what's behind you, man. So it doesn't matter what you're going through today. Keep your eyes up. Keep looking to the Lord, man. There's so much more in front of you. Success is on the other side of it. Keep going.
That's the way to drop the mic, man. That's the way to
Yeah,
drop the mic.
absolutely.
Like I said, I've interviewed a lot of people and I enjoyed this one a lot, man. So you got to make a promise that you're going to come back
Yeah,
and hit
absolutely.
and come back to the hangout spot. Like I said, great time, great interview. I'm always going to support you and be in your corner. When you get one of these days, I'd like to be able to hit you up, maybe hit a training session or whatnot. So
Absolutely.
we can chop up something like. So we'll make something happen. I know we stay.
Yeah,
We're going to stay in touch,
yeah,
and I'm going to be
100%.
following you. I'm going to be throwing your stories out there and your fights and all that. So you got me in your corner. You got
Yeah,
me in your
appreciate
corner.
it. Hey, thank you, Johnny. Appreciate you having me on, brother.
Appreciate you, man. Take care, champ.
Yeah, you as well.
All right. There you have it, man. An amazing young prospect, man. He's fighting at 154. Ebenezer Stuntman Griffin. That was a very enjoyable interview because Stuntman is 22 years old, but he's mature beyond his age, man. If you guys were listening, man, not just his outlook and where he sees himself in the sport and how he wants to represent, his hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, which is also the birthplace of Muhammad Ali. I mean, I was thoroughly impressed, like I said. And he nailed it earlier when he said it doesn't matter your age, right? It's how you carry yourself. And I told him for those of you that didn't see the whole interview, I urge if you're watching live, make sure you check out the whole interview on the recording after that. It was absolutely amazing. I told him to let his parents know that they've done one hell of a good job raising him and I'm always going to be in his corner. He's a hard guy, as you can see, man. He can fight, and the future's bright. But he's a hard guy to root against. I'm sorry, he's a hard guy to root against because he's such a good guy. The way he ended this interview, hands down, he dropped the mic. But we're gonna have him back on because, like I said, I want to make him a regular to come back, break down fights. I love his breakdown of this weekend's Turkey Al Sheet card, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well. Thank you for coming out in the chat. Efren Serrano, Conway will most likely fight Zayas. We talked about that. If they don't give him Fundora, I know that's what he wants. I want to take to call out Shakur after that fight. Oh, you want Tank? I think you mean Tank. Yeah. There you go. You want Tank to call out Shakur. Hopefully, let's not forget. Tank said in one of the press conferences with Roach that when he wins, he's gonna make a call out. Hopefully, it's Shakur. That's the fight that we all want to see, damn it, and we want to see it next. We want to see it in 2025, man. They got to get this shit shaking, bro. Shakur and Tank is the fight to make at 135. Two of the best lightweights in the division, the two best lightweights in my opinion, regardless of where you have them ranked. It could be 1 and 1A, but they got to get that shaking, man. They got to stop. They got to stop fucking around, man. For real, man. What's going on? 207. We back. Charles Conway will beat Xander Zayas. I mean, that's what that's what Stuntman said too. He feels like Xander Zayas still, has a lot to learn. I love Xander Zayas' potential. I do. He's still 22 years old, but there's a lot of things that he does well in there from a boxing perspective. But you got his take, as another fighter fighting in that division as well. Xander Zayas has too many defensive flaws and no power. Well, I mean, yeah. Listen, guys are going to get hit. I get that. I totally get that. The power aspect, no, he's not a one-punch power at all. Not prototypical of a Puerto Rican fighter from the island where we are well-known. Puerto Ricans are well-known for that monstrous left hook, that one-punch knockout power. He's not that guy. But I always said, if he becomes that pure boxer that can be able to beat people like Floyd did, right? Floyd didn't have no power. I'm not comparing the two. Don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying maybe he's the next Puerto Rican version of the boxer that's not going to knock people out, but he's going to beat you by points. Again, regardless, whether he does it with the knockout or by decision, if he's able to, to do what he needs to do, win some titles, and put together, a stellar career, we can't complain about that as well. But give him some time. Like I said, he's 22 years old, man. He's 22 years old. Yeah, Efren. Yeah, you jacked up the Tank thing, man. You definitely jacked up the Tank. I'm like, what? I want Tank to call out Shakur after the fight. Great man, kind words, gained a new fan. Yes, Efren, it's hard. It's difficult. It's impossible to root against Ebenezer Stuntman Griffith. Like I said, when I saw him on the Boxing Voice and he was interviewed, I said, I got to get him on here, man, because he's such a good young man. And I think that his future is bright. I think his future is extremely bright. He can fight. If you have not seen him fight, check it out on YouTube. He's fighting again in April, like he said, co-main event in his hometown in Kentucky. He's super, super excited about that, and I'm excited for him. I'll be watching. Hopefully, I can hook up with him at one day and get to one of his training sessions. I'm definitely a fan. Zoro de la Vega, you still up, man? I'm surprised you still up rocking out with me, but I appreciate you because you're my brother. You my brother. You break down fights like he was breaking them down today, man. So Zaya's too many defensive flaws. Yeah, man. Alex Vega. I don't know, man. I see Xander as a well-polished for 22 years old. And this is what I like about Xander Zayas. Correct me if I'm wrong. Every fight that we've seen him, it's almost like he shows a little bit like he gets better and better. And to me, that's a sign of a fighter that has star in the making. I mean, he's marketable. He's good. I mean, he to me, he has the goods. I don't know. Maybe I'm blind. I mean, he's a pure boxer. There's a lot of things that he does really, really well in the ring. I think we get caught up. I think a lot of fighters get caught up with the fact that, he's not knocking people out. That's okay though. I mean, you're not going to knock everybody out, but if you're beating people nine rounds to 3 or whatever it is, like, what's wrong with that, right? Again, 22 years old. Let's chill. Let's chill. I agree. Nah, he's great I think so too. At 22 years old with that type of skill level, I think so too. But there's a lot of boxing fans out there that disagree. And I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm a fan of his and I'm trying to be I'm not trying to be biased either. I see something in him that a lot of people don't see. One thing I will tell you about Xander, two things is I would like for him to have a little bit more of that killer instinct, especially guys like the guy he fought before this last fight. You could tell this guy really wasn't liking the work to the body. He was doing some good body work. I'd like to see Xander take it into second or third gear sometimes and take a little bit more chances to get guys out of there. Show a little bit more of a mean streak, so to speak. And again, that's not a harsh criticism. It's just me. Like, I would prefer to him to have a little bit more of that killer instinct. To me, he's too much of a nice guy. But skill wise, I think, he does a lot of things really, really good in that ring. And last but not least, Top Rank got to start taking the training wheels off, man. Let this guy swim. If he wants to swim with the Sharks and he thinks he's ready, do it. I interviewed him last year at the Tim Zoo card, the Tim Zoo Bakram card. I interviewed him live, and when I asked him, "Are you ready to take over the 154-pound division?" I say this all the time. So for those of you guys that are watching me all the time, you probably say Johnny says this all the time, but it's just I was impressed with that because he didn't even let me finish. He's like, "I think I'm ready now," and you saw, right? Even though he wasn't picked, he put his hands up and he said, I'll fight you, Virgil. February 22nd, put me up in there. Obviously, they went with Madrimov, a much more experienced guy. You can't knock them for that. They didn't think that Xander was ready. But he put his name out there. He wanted that smoke. Let's start getting Xander some smoke, man. Let's start getting him either a former champion or put him in a title shot later on this year. Charles Conwell, they went back and forth on social media. Why not make that fight? They make that fight in June, Puerto Rican Day weekend. I'm coming to New York for that fight. I'm gonna try to get credentials and I'm gonna get up in there, man, because I think that's gonna be that's a really good fight. That's a really good fight. Alex, I say the same thing. He may not be Cotto or Trinidad, but he could still be a very good fighter. Nothing is wrong with that. Not everyone is going to be a Hall of Famer. He may do it differently than them. Doesn't mean that he's not going to have a stellar career. So it is what it is. Like I said, everybody has an opinion. And I get it. I respect it. You know me, I'm respectful. I respect everybody's opinion. I'm just saying I see something different in Xander that maybe a lot of other people don't see. They may say, well, you're Puerto Rican. Yes, I am Puerto Rican. I do support my fellow countrymen in the island. I'm proud. But listen, man, if he wasn't the goods, I'd say, listen, I'm supporting him. But there's a lot of flaws in his game. I don't know how good he can be. I think Xander could be very, very good. I think Xander can be a future star. And when I say star, I'm not saying he's going to, unify or be undisputed in 3 weight classes. I'm not saying that. I just think he can win multiple titles, I believe. But we'll see. Time will tell. This was an absolutely Ethan Serrano talking about Puerto Rican boxers. Yeah, man. I mean, listen, I support my countrymen, but I try to keep it 100 across the board. But this was an amazing, amazing show. We had an amazing guest. I'm glad you guys came out to rock out with me. Thursday, we are going back. Normal schedule, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are going to break down the Tank and Roach fight card. Saturday, Brooklyn, March 1st, Barclays Center. Depending on who you are, if you're a Tank fan, then yes, much anticipated. You get to see Tank back in the ring. If you're a boxing fan, we'll talk about the matchup. We'll see how, I'll break it down, give you my opinions on how it's going to go. The fight card, obviously, you having the undercard. The co-main event is Jose Rayo Valenzuela, making his first defense of his title. He's going up against Gary Antoine Russell, who is coming off a loss to Puello, and he gets another title shot. Welcome to the world of boxing. I mean, that's what it is. You got Alberto Puello, who beat Gary Antoine Russell for that interim title, which later on became the full title. And with the whole Devin Haney situation at 140, he's fighting and defending against Sandor Martin. And then you have the opener, Yoenis Tellez, who is a young, really, really good, powerful Cuban fighter. He fights under Box Lab Promotions. Shout out to Box Lab Promotions. They are my family. Up in Caribbean Royale, I've worked a lot of Box Lab Promotion fights in Caribbean Royale. I've seen Yoenis Tellez fight at least 3 times live. Great young man. He's trained by the great Ronnie Shields. He is, I believe this fight is for an interim title. He's fighting former unified champion Julian J. Rock Williams from Philadelphia. That fight is going to open up the pay-per-view card. And we're going to talk about it. Thursday show, we're going to talk about it. I'd probably be solo dolo here in the studio, but I'm never alone when I got my viewers and I got my chat going. So make sure y'all come out Thursday for the chat because I don't like talking about myself. I want to get the chat involved. I want to get your predictions. I want to get your thoughts on the fights. We will break it down thoroughly on Thursday. But yo, appreciate the love and support. Thank you for rocking out with me. As always, this is your boy Johnny signing out from the Hangout Spot Live, and I'll talk to everybody Thursday night.